guys, what's going on? It's Ash here coming at you today in Raid Shadow Legends. Another year here, 2021 behind us. That can only mean one thing. Top 5 epic champions in every single faction. Let's do this. How was your 2021? I feel like ever since I was a little kid, little preamble here, ever since I was a little kid, all the adults in my life always just like, you know, 1996 is over. Good riddance. Bye-bye. Can't wait for the next year. It's like we remain optimistic for the future and pessimistic about the past when talking about the new year. So I just want to be, you know, thankful, add a little bit of positivity into your lives. I know it was a tough year globally, obviously the pandemic and whatnot, but still, you know, grateful to have all of you guys, an awesome community here on the channel. And hey, you know, making positive changes in our lives, trying to live a little bit more in the present moment is my big focus here coming into 2022. I don't know about you guys, but with all the distractions being thrown at us now more than ever, it's so important to just live in the moment and resist the urge to always pick up your device and be distracted all the time, you know? Try to carve out some time, whether it's just, you know, meditation or just simply going for a walk and leaving your phone or whatever at home. Give it a try, guys. I really implore you to focus on mental health here in 2022. All right, so starting out with the Banner Lords, guys.
Hey.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, baby.
Okay, not the legendaries. What am I looking at here? What am I looking at? Archmage Helmet, man. This dude's like a legendary. I'm not going to go over all these champions kits in their entirety. Just going to be pretty brief. That way this video is not 2.5 hours long. So Archmage Helmet, I always look at base stats to begin with when assessing any champion, namely speed to start out with, and boy, does Archmage Helmet have it. He also has his Psychic Guidance ability. Dude, it's insane. Increased speed, increased crit damage, increased crit rate on a 3-turn cooldown with an AoE stun. And one thing about Archmage that I was surprised at, guys, was how much damage he deals, man. He has really solid multipliers on his skills, so this guy kind of does it all. Really, really good champion. Probably one of the top 10 epics inside the entire game. Next up is going to be Stag Knight, another top 10 epic inside the entire game.
Wow.
Just like me.
I promise I won't say that about 25 epics in today's video, right? We have a decreased speed on the A1. On the A2, decreased defense, decreased attack. Look at his base speed. Look at his base HP. He's also the first champion ever introduced to the game to have the increased accuracy buff in his kit. This guy's still one of the best Spirit Affinity debuffers in the game. That's including legendary champions. This dude's like one of the best champions out there. Next up is Gizcard the Sigiled. This dude was added last year, and I felt like he went under the radar. He has an AoE provoke, a 75% chance on a 3-turn cooldown with a shield on himself. He also has increased attack and increased defense on a 3-turn cooldown. Base stats, look at his defense, man. He's pretty easy to keep alive. He also has turn meter fill whenever he's attacked by an enemy under provoke or increased attack. A really, really good support champion, guys. Next up, Warcaster, another kind of legacy underrated champion, one of the old school Void champions in the game. Again, look at his HP, look at his defense, all right, and look at his speed. He's pretty fast too at 106 base speed, guys. He's stealing buffs on the A1. On the A2, an AoE block buffs debuff on a 3-turn cooldown at a 75% land rate. That's really, really solid. I love block buffs debuff right now inside the game because especially with Doom Tower, feels like there's just so many buffs on every single wave, right? And then we have block damage on a 4-turn cooldown for 1 turn. So not bad in the support realm as well. I think Warcaster, people just think about him as the block damage, but he brings a lot more to the table than just that. Ursula the Mourner, another new champion. She's insane. Very, very good champion, guys. Has decreased target's turn meter on the A1, has a decreased attack and an increased attack on a 3-turn cooldown on the A2. And then on the A3, she has one of the best revivals in the game. Revives everybody, 75% HP, fills their turn meter in half by 50, increased defense and strengthen on all allies for 3 turns. This revival's on a 5-turn cooldown, guys. Again, what can I say? Just one of the best revivers in the game in Ursula the...
It was nice meeting you.
Hold on, I still want you.
No, I don't want to exit the game. I want to go over to High Elves. So High Elves, guys, man, Plarium, like, does not want to add any high elf epics, apparently. There's only 9 high elf epics inside the entire game, and here they are. So we can start right with Royal Guard. Royal Guard, he took a little bit of a dip when enemy max HP was nerfed against level 21 to 25 bosses, also Doom Tower bosses. However, he still deals a ton of damage in, you know, lower level dungeons, and, of course, still against the Hydra clan boss. He's kind of seen a resurgence because he's really good against the Hydra clan boss. I use him on my main team. Because of the takedown ability. His A3 people forget about. He also has decreased speed here, also turn meter depletion on a 4-turn cooldown, so brings a lot to the table. Also has a great aura for dungeon, 35%. Tyrell, another legacy champion, but very, very good. He's a defense-based decrease defense champion, a defense-based debuffer, and still one of the best in the game. Has turn meter and a stun on his A3, deals a lot of damage too, and on his A1 he has decrease attack. So really, with the aura, defense in all battles, decrease attack, decrease defense, brings everything you need for a good clan boss aura lead in the game, and a good debuffer pretty much anywhere in the game. Still, I'm a big fan of Tyrell. Some people think he's been power crept a little bit. Not me. I think he's still really, really good. The only downside is his decrease defense and is on a 4-turn cooldown instead of a 3-turn cooldown, which has kind of become the norm now in the game. Next up is going to be, I'm going to give it to Vergis. Vergis is a really good champion now, guys. He has reflect damage on his A1, on his A2. This is a single target, but look at everything he's bringing to the table here, guys. Ally protect, continuous heal, increased speed, reflect damage, increased defense. Wow! And then on his passive, plays a shield on his champion equal to 10% of their max HP for 2 turns whenever he loses 10% or more of his max HP from a single hit. So he's shielding and continuous healing himself all the time whenever he's losing 10% of his HP or his HP drops below 50%. This is on a 1-turn cooldown when booked, so he's very, very exceptionally hard to kill, and he has one of the best defense auras for dungeons in the game at 33%. Very good support champion. Next up, I'm going to give it to Jingle Hunter here, guys. I mean, there's not a lot of high elves to choose from. Ow! Jingle Hunter is kind of a meme, but he's not that bad, especially for an arena lead and kind of turn meter support, because he has the aura, speed in arena battles by 24%. Then he has the AoE on a 4-turn cooldown, decrease turn meter of all enemies by 20% as long as the attack is critical, and increase his turn meter by 10%. He also has a single target guaranteed freeze, so not too bad at all. If the attack kills an enemy, of course. On his A1, he has decreased speed. If it was a guaranteed freeze, no matter what, that'd be great on all enemies. But again, if you kill an enemy in the arena, you freeze the rest of the enemies. So again, for an arena lead in the mid game, you can do a lot worse than Jingle Hunt.
I should be happy here. What's wrong with me?
Next up is going to be Battle Sage. Battle Sage very good against Hydra Clan Boss, very good in the arena as well. She's a little bit underrated in my opinion. She has an AoE on her A1, which is great. On her A2, she has an increased attack on all allies, and then Cleanse. So a Cleanse on a 3-turn cooldown, great for the arena, great anti-Torment, great anti-Hegemon if you have her in immunity set, so she's not CC'd herself. Also, Revive on Death on an allied target for 3 turns. You know, you guys know what Revive on Death is. So not a bad A3, not a great A3 either. She also has speed in all battles by 19%, so a great aura. So there it is, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wow, we're moving right along here, guys. Sacred Order. Man, there's a lot of Sacred Order champions. Not a lot of great ones, but I do want to start with Sanguinia. Sanguinia is a kind of newish, kind of about a year old now, but she is another very, very good epic who a lot of people are sleeping on out there, guys. 20k, 1100, 105 base speed. Yes, please, thank you very much. A 3-time hitter, which we always look for on the A1, makes a great Giant Slayer candidate on this champion to get some extra damage out of an otherwise great support champion. She has block debuffs for 1 turn on a 3-turn cooldown when booked, and then a continuous heal for 2 turns. So a great support ability here. Block debuffs more important than ever. Granted, it is 1 turn on a 3-turn cooldown. We're kind of used to 2 turns for some of the more OP legendaries, but still a great ability nonetheless. And then attack 1 enemy, has a 100% chance of transferring all debuffs from herself to the target, and then what's even better, on a 4-turn cooldown, we also get a full cleanse, guys. Removes all debuffs from all allies except this champion. Thank you very much. She's a very, very good champion. Accuracy in Doom Tower battles as well. A great accuracy lead for you guys. And you know me, I love my accuracy leads. I think they're underrated in this game. Next up is going to be Deke. Deacon Armstrong has speed in all battles by 19%. He has filled turn meter of all allies and decreased turn meter of all enemies, and then grant an extra turn. That is great because it's going to reduce the cooldown of this A2 from a 3-turn win booked to a 2-turn, keeping increased defense on all the enemies basically all the time. He also has a leech on his A1. Very, very, very good champion. It was my most wanted epic for so long. I was so excited when I finally pulled that dude, excuse me. All right, next up is going to be Mordecai. Mordecai, one of the best burners in the game, especially for Spider 25. I really love this champion. On the A2, he has an AoE, decreased turn meter of all enemies by 15%, fills a turn meter of all allies by 15%. So a very mini energized ability, the A3 from Lysandra, on Mordecai's time undoing ability. I say very many, it is very many. Instead of 30, it's 15, and there's no increased speed, but still, it's a good ability to have, especially against Spider. Again, this guy's a Spider, just a phenom. HP burn on all enemies for 2 turns, increase attack on all allies for 3 turns. Thank you very much, Mordecai. Really, really good champion. Accuracy in all battles by 40 as well. For me, it was between Mordecai and Phenax for that kind of 5th spot in this category. Also, Mistress of Hymns is a very good reviver as well. So a few honorable mentions here, but we have to give the final 2 spots to Inquisitor Shamil. Inquisitor Shamil, I shared a poison build video you guys are definitely going to want to check out. Very, very cool. Shout out to Squidge Gaming for sharing that with me so I could share it with you guys. He's counterattacking all the time off this A1 on Hydra Clan Boss, especially basically whenever an ally receives a fear or true fear debuff, he's cleansing it as well. Very, very powerful, and with all those A1s going off, well, he's going to be landing a lot of small versions of the poison if he's in a toxic set. Either way, guys, he's a damage-dealing machine, no matter what set he is built in, against the Hydra Clan Boss especially. So Inquisitor Shamil has seen a skyrocket in value, and then Godseeker Aniri. To me, she's probably the best epic in a vacuum in the Sacred Aura category. As you guys know, again, I do prefer defense, or support, excuse me, based champions. We have a heal on the A1, on the A2 an AoE heal, and then increase the duration of all buffs on all enemies, or excuse me, decrease all buffs on all enemies, and increases buffs on all allies on a 3-turn cooldown. Now listen, one of the reasons that Krisk, the Ageless, is so good, one of the best champions in the game in Clan Boss, is because he has this ability as well on his A2, increasing the duration of all buffs. That will affect shield, it will affect counterattack, it will affect increased defense. It's essentially bringing all of the buffs on all of your allies up from a 2-turn to a 3-turn on a 3-turn cooldown. You know, whatever it is on the original champion who's casting those buffs. She's coming in there and amplifying all that. It's an extremely underrated ability in the game, not to mention the decreasing duration of buffs on enemies. On the A3, she has a great revival and resetting the cooldown of all their skills on a single target, a unique revival in that aspect. And then she has this fail-safe revival, increasing all healing, and if an ally is about to get killed, it preempts that hit with a revive on death. Man, what a good champion, huh, guys? All right, moving along here to Barbarians. We have Aina. Aina is a champion that we don't talk about a ton here on the channel, but she is a damage-dealing goddess. Again, she's very fast, really, really insane multipliers, over 6 on the A2, over 6 on the A3. That's incredible, with a good base attack at 1487. On the A1, a chance at granting an extra turn, kind of like Seer. On the A2, attack 1 enemy, has an 80% chance, 100% chance of placing weaken for 3 turns. And again, this is an over 6 multiplier. She hits very, very hard. And then another single target on the A3 with decreased defense and a heal. So she's bringing a lot of damage. She can be a debuffer against a boss. It does last 3 turns, which is nice. I wish it was on a 4-turn cooldown instead of a 5, but it is what it is. And then another hard-hitting weaken. So decreased defense, weaken against bosses, plus a lot of damage. You can do a lot worse than Aina. Next is Armina. Armina, I love Armina. She's very squishy, though. 683 on the base defense. Yeah, we're not going to get excited about that. However, she does have a chance at a stun on the A1, a pretty good chance, 45% chance at a stun. On the A2, an AoE decreased defense, and then steals turn meter as well. Very, very good, sneaky good ability here. she can basically get a chance at going, you know, not right again because she's only stealing 7.5, but she's stealing a decent amount to keep her kind of turn meter constantly filling off of that A2. And the A3, we have decreased turn meter of enemies, and then a 75% chance, make it 100, of placing a stun on enemies who have their turn meter fully depleted. So if you have another turn meter depleter on the team and you can kind of keep their turn meter very low, the enemies that is, we have a chance of coming in with an extra CC on that stun. And then on the passive, very, very cool passive here, fills her champion's turn meter by 10% each time an enemy receives a stun. So she has that stun again on the A1, a chance of stun on the A3, but you put her with this on the same team with, say, Syl the Drake.
Don't even think about it.
You're going to be very, very excited about all the turn meter fill that you get on your Armina. Very cool champion if you pair her with the right champions. I run her with Syl the Drakes in Archmage Helmet. With both of those other champions stunning all the time, she's incredible as my main debuffer on those teams. Next up is High Katoon. High Katoon, one of the legacy champions, a daily login reward champion. Still one of the better champions out there in terms of a speed and turn meter specialist. She has turn meter fill and an increased speed on the A2. On the A3 and AoE, turn meter depletion, 75% chance at depleting by 15%. So very, very good champion. She's very fast. She's just really, really solid. Also has speed in all battles again by 19%. So great as a speed or lead as compared to, you know, Apothecary, who a lot of people compare to her in the early game. At least you get the speed lead and also the decreased turn meter on the A3. All right, next up is going to be Fakrin the Fat.
It was an accident. I didn't mean to.
The Fat Man is a great ally attacker, guys. He has increased crit rate, increased crit damage on all allies, and then an ally attack on a 4-turn cooldown. He is the best ally attacker champion, in my opinion, out of all the epics in the game. And then we have an HP burn and a poison. Not bad at all. Make it 2 poisons on the A2, so he can deal some serious damage as well. Very, very good champion. And then last is going to be Skytouch Shaman, one of the better healers in the game, an AoE on the A1 with a heal. On the A2, remove all debuffs from all allies, a cleanse, block debuffs, and revive on death. It's kind of like a mini cardio ability on her A2. You can use her in the arena with this ability. Just make sure you put her in an immunity set because she has this annoying passive where she places a fear, or 50% chance of placing a fear on herself at the start of each turn, okay? You want to build her with a lot of HP, that way you can get a lot of heals out of this champion. She is damages champion and then heals all allies equal to the half the lost HP, okay? So really important we build her to be very, very tanky on the HP. She also has HP in all battles by 25%. I really love Skytouch Shaman. She's one of my favorite champions. She's very, very unique. Ogryn Tribe, this is very challenging here, but Ugo is not challenging. Ugo, excuse me, I think is my favorite epic in the game. At least she's really, really in strong contention for that category. Leech on the A1, you'll love to see it. On the A2, a decreased defense and a block buffs. You guys already heard me say how much I love block buffs. Well, we have it here, along with a decreased defense. But it doesn't stop there, guys. She also has a remove all heal reduction, removes another random debuff, and then a great heal on this ability as well, based on her, her max HP. If all allies are dead, she'll revive them as well. Ugo's very, very good. I have Claude Beastfeeder as my number 2 here, or as my second champion I want to mention. A ton of HP, good defense, and really fast champion as well in Claude Beastfeeder. He is underrated. He has decreased crit rate on his A1 at a 50% chance at landing. Hey, 30% decreased crit rate is going to be enough to prevent all the bosses in the game from landing a critical hit. That's really, really solid there on the A1. On the A2, we have a shield on all allies equal to 20% of this champion's max HP on a 3-turn cooldown. So a great shield, a decreased crit rate, and then an increased speed and an increased accuracy in all allies for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. Why do people not talk about Claude Beastfeeder more often? A very, very good champion. Heals the ally with lowest HP by 10% of the max HP at the start of this champion's turn. Why not? Add it to the list. Very, very good champion. Those of you who have invested in Claude know what I'm talking about. Very, very solid. I love Siege Hulk, but I have to give him an honorable mention here. He's one of my favorite damage dealers released this year. He also has an AoE decreased defense, but I have to give it to Skull Crusher because of the uniqueness of Skull Crusher's kit. He has counterattack, he has ally protect, unkillable on himself on a 3-turn cooldown. Also one of the best abilities to try to get one book in and call it a day with Skull Crusher, right? Still one of the better clan boss support champions. Great for Fire Knight. Really great in a variety of different areas as a support champion inside the game. So that's 1, 2, 3. Next up is going to be Crush the Mangler, a daily login reward champion and a very, very fine one at that. He also has Leech on his A1, 75% chance at landing it. Very solid there. Has an AoE decrease attack or decrease crit damage. We wish that was just decrease attack, but we'll take the decreased crit damage as well. And then an AoE attack with the big version of continuous heal on all allies, and then an additional weak version of continuous heal for 1 turn on at least, as long as at least one enemy, excuse me, is hit with a critical hit. So basically we're getting a big continuous heal and a small continuous heal on all allies with an AoE attack. This guy can deal a lot of damage. It's damage based on defense, and he can dish out a ton of healing for your team as well. Great in faction wars because of this aura. Crush the Mangler is very, very good. Next up is going to be Maneater. Maneater still the unkillable god in this game. He can fully deplete a target's turn meter with his Siphon ability. He can place an AoE decrease attack on his A1. Okay, as long as the attack is critical, places it on all enemies, and then of course has the unkillable and block debuffs, what he's known for with the Ancient Blood ability. The damage he receives, don't worry about that. It's negligible. It's barely even noticeable. I used him in Fire Knight as well in the mid game, helping me out there with a turn meter depletion on a 3-turn cooldown. So Maneater, incredible. What else do I have to say about Maneater? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 6 champions all of a sudden, guys, because I have to give it to Ergrim as well. I apologize. I don't know who I would take out there. But he has the great heal on his A2, but it's really all about, he has poisons on his A1, but it's really about this ability. 2 poisons on all enemies and a continuous heal on all allies for 2 turns on a 4-turn cooldown. He used to be a 3, but he got nerfed, but still a very, very good champion. Plus, he has speed in all battles by 20%. I use him as my speed lead on a few teams in Doom Tower as well. So Ergrim, one of my favorite champions out of this year. It's a shame that they nerfed him, though. Lizardmen. All right. There's not that many here. Jarag. Jarag is still one of the better Lizardmen. Hey, forget Lizardmen. One of the better epics in the game. I promise I won't say that about 25 epics in today's video, right?
So, you are now one of us.
He's underrated now. He has decreased attack on his A1. Again, guys, this is a 60% chance, so very consistent landing on the decreased attack. He has Ally Protect and increased defense on a 4-turn cooldown on his A2, and then he has this great passive where he's putting a continuous heal on an ally for 1 turn whenever they lose 20% of their max HP on 1 hit. So he's dishing out a lot of heals. He's got the Ally Protect, he's got the increased defense, and he's got the decreased attack. Everything you need, and then the HP in all battles by 33%. So Jarag, a very, very good support champion in this game. I kind of want to give it to Basilisk, but I'm going to give him an honorable mention and give it to Venomage instead. Venomage is great because he has a chance of activating 2 poisons, or she. He has a chance of activating 2 poisons on the A1. On the A2, he has a decreased defense, also a decreased attack if the target is under a poison. So decreased attack, decreased defense, instant activation of poisons, and then the heal reduction and 2 poisons on the A3. You might be asking yourself, but heal reduction, it sucks against clan boss because you're wasting a debuff spot. Au contraire, enemies under heal reduction inflict 15% less damage. It's actually a reason to have that heal reduction on the clan boss because of Venomage. Very, very cool champion. Next up is Aox the Rememberer. The Rememberer has a poison on his A1. On his A2, he has a heal of all allies by 10% of the max HP, but the heal goes up for each debuff on the target. So that can be a big heal when attacking, again, the clan boss. On the A3, we have a decreased attack on all enemies. We also have a decreased crit rate for 2 turns if they have 50% or more turn meter after the turn meter decrease. So again, crit rate, we already talked about it. That's enough against bosses to mitigate all their critical hits. And then we have increased the duration of 2 random debuffs on the attacker by 1 turn when attacked. So he's got the instant activation, or excuse me, that's Venomage, my bad. So he has the increased duration of 2 random debuffs as well, which obviously is very good against specifically the clan boss. Last is going to be, actually that's 1, 2, 3. Number 4 is going to be Broadmaw. Broadmaw actually got a big buff this year, guys, and now he's really solid. He has a 45% chance freeze on the A1. On the A2, they totally revamped this ability, made it so much better. It used to be, I think, only increased crit rate, I think. maybe the weak version of increased speed, but now we have the increased speed, increased crit rate, and turn meter fill on a 3-turn cooldown. A really solid, underrated ability here, especially if you don't already have increased speed on your team, right? And then he's a reviver. Revives 2 random allies, dead allies with 25% HP, and then places a block damage buff on them when they're revived for 1 turn on a 4-turn cooldown. Not the best revive skill, but good base stats, good for faction wars, good if you need a solid reviver, especially in the Lizardmen faction, hard to come by. And then Skathix is number 5. Skathix is another really, really solid Lizardman added last year. An AoE chance at stealing a random buff from each enemy. That's at 100% land rate on a 3-turn cooldown. On his A1, he has decreased speed. We love to see it there. 50% chance, so a good shot at landing. And then we have a cleanse and block debuff and shield for 2 turns on the A3. Shield buff equal to 20% of his max HP. Very, very good support champion. Does a lot for your team. All right, that is Lizardmen. Moving on to Skinwalkers. Here we go, man. This is an interesting one. I'm going to start with Basher. Basher, dude. I love Basher. I loved Basher 2 years ago. I still love Basher, man. He's getting an AoE, increase the cooldown of all target skills by 2 turns. A little mini Warlord for you guys. If you don't have Warlord, Basher's the next best thing. Sure, he's a far cry from Warlord, but still, this ability can be very useful in the arena, even against any sort of dungeon wave in the game, Doom Tower waves. Very useful ability here, increasing the cooldown of all the target skills by 2 turns is a good way to neutralize the opponent. And then he has a 4 times at random with block buffs. You guys already know. 3rd time I've said it. I love block buffs. Has a weekend on the A1 as well. Can deal some decent damage as well. Steel Skull, guys. He's an old champion in this game, but still very good. He has an A2 very similar to the A2 of Ergrim. He has a cleanse on it, and then a really good heal on a 3-turn cooldown. He has an increased defense on all allies with a heal on a 4-turn cooldown, then a poison on the A1. Very fast champion. Easy to build him nice and fast so he can support your team in every area of the game. I'm going to give spot number 3 to... I'm going to give it to Urson Ironhide. I really like the Black Bear. I don't like the White Bear that much, but I like the Black Bear. He's based on defense. He has a lot of defense. He has an AoE decrease attack debuff on the A3. I use this guy to get through faction wars. I relied on him heavily in Skinwalker's faction wars. I didn't have a lot of good Skinwalkers. There's not a lot of Skinwalkers out there, and he was a huge help. He also has this this passive here. Each hit has a 50, make it a 100% chance when booked of decreasing the target's turn meter by 7.5%. Each hit also has a 50% chance to make it 100 of putting one of the target skills on cooldowns if the target is under a decreased crit rate debuff. Now, listen, the White Bear was the first champion to have a decreased crit rate debuff ever added to the game, so you really had to have them both. It was part of Battle Pass from like 2 years ago, but now they're adding more and more champions, as we've noted, with decreased crit rate, so we're having even more chance at putting skills on cooldowns, but even the turn meter depletion is very underrated and a good part of his kit. Next is going to be Horafes the Tusks. So Horafes has a lot of HP, decent defense, or good defense. We have increased attack and crit rate on a 3-turn cooldown, lasts for 2 turns, and then a very, very important reviver being added to Skinwalkers this year, guys. Revives 2 random allies, 50% turn meter, and 50% HP with a strengthen on all allies, the big version on a 5-turn cooldown. A pretty solid reviver here in the epic category, Force Affinity. I really like that guy. I haven't built him, but he was much, much needed here in this category. I want to give the last one to... I could really give it to a few of these champions here, but I actually want to give it to Scarbrius. I always butcher his name, man. Scarbrius. He was part of the Sigmund fusion, guys. This guy actually deals a lot of damage. He has a poison on his A1, a good 60-70% chance of placing poison for 2 turns on his A1. Good multipliers, too. Really good multipliers on his A2 as well. An AoE attack with a leech. It can help your team, especially with the poison on the A1, can help your team get out of that lifesteal gear, right? With that AoE leech, dependable 100% land rate on a 3-turn cooldown. You can't ask for anything better than that. And then he has attack one enemy with a weaken and increase attack on himself as long as that weaken is placed on a 4-turn cooldown. And again, very, very solid multipliers. I want to say 6+ on that A3. Damage increases by 20% when attacking enemies under poison debuffs. So again, this guy can actually put out a lot of damage on targets under poison, a la Clan Boss. Orcs. This was a real tough one, guys. This was the first category here, the first faction that I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna have to get some serious snubs here, right? So let's start with the most obvious. Duck the Pierce. This guy's really, really solid, right? He's kind of like a Tyrell-esque champion because his damage is based on defense, very similar defense to Tyrell. He has a decreased accuracy on the A1. You'd love to have that instead of decreased attack on Tyrell's, but he does have the decreased attack and decreased defense on his A2, an AoE attack based on defense on a 3-turn cooldown. He also has Provoke on his A3. Sometimes, depending on where you're using this champion, you might want to totally just turn this ability off and just have him continue to place decreased accuracies and decreased attacks and decreased defenses on his A2. He also has defense in Faction Wars by 31%. Very, very good champion. One of the best in the faction. Seer, an obvious, man. She's the queen of damage with this ability, Karma Burn. Strips everybody's of their buffs, and then boom, you nuke the entire team. She is, like I said, the speed queen of Raid Shadow Legends. If I didn't have her, well, everything would take me a million years. Next up is going to be Sandlash Survivor, still one of the better support champions in the game. She has the same thing we talked about earlier with Godseeker Iniri, decrease the duration of all enemy buffs, increase the duration of all ally buffs. Very, very, very good ability in Endless Sands. On the A1, she has a Provoke, a Heal. On the passive, Ally Protect on all allies for 2 turns whenever any ally's HP drops below 50%. Also plays a block damage buff on herself for 1 turn, which is nice. Block damage better than Unkillable because she's not losing HP. When that buff expires, the block damage, she's not going to be sitting there at 1 HP awkwardly waiting for a heal, right? So a very, very good passive on a 4-turn cooldown. She has defense in all battles by 25% as well. Now this is where things get interesting. So I think Seer and Sandlash and Duck are clearly like top 3 category, but then we have Zargala, we have Vrask, we have Jorg, and we have Tuok that I would put in the next tier. So I don't know. I only have room for 2 of them. I'm going to use the champions that I personally use the most, and that is Zargala and Tuok. However, Vrask and Jorg are great support champions. Jorg can revive very, very well with turn meter support, and Vrask is one of the better healers inside the entire game, especially in Relentless Gear. However, Tuok the Wanderer, man, he's another battle. No, he was an Amazon Prime champion from a couple years ago. Dude, he's really good, man. He has attack in all battles by 22%. He has decreased the damage taken by the champion by 20% when their HP drops below 60%. So a nice, generous, passive damage mitigation. On his A3, we steal 50% of the target's turn meter. And a stun, 100% chance of landing that stun, and then 100% turn meter steal instead if he has less than 50% HP. Really, really good ability, hits very, very hard. An AoE decreased speed at 100% land rate, that's solid as well. Again, with really good multipliers. It heals him if he's less than 50% HP, also places an increased speed on himself for 2 turns. What a great ability, right? And then we have a chance of increasing the cooldown of target skills on his A1. Man, he's really doing it everything, right? Look at this. Increases the cooldown of all the target skills by 1 turn if he's attacking with less than 50% HP. Very, very good damage dealer who brings a lot more to the table than just that. And then Zargala, guys, she's a legacy champion, but still, she has this A2 Devastate hard-hitting ability that instantly activates this A3, hits all enemies 3 times, a very dependable decreased defense ability. After the first hit, so her second 2 AoE hits have the chance at landing the decreased defense at a 75% clip, aka she's more often than not landing that decreased defense on all enemies. So there we have it, guys. Moving on to the Demonspawn. Demonspawn. Allure. I mean, Allure is one of the most unique champions in the game, even compared to legendaries. You still need Allure, right? Even if you have every legendary in the game, you don't need her, but I'm saying for Fire Knight, you can't do any better than Allure. 3 times at random, decreases target's turn meter by 25% on each critical hit. You love to see it. You love to see it. One of the best turn meter A1's abilities, forget A1, it's one of the best turn meter control abilities inside the entire game here. She also has an AoE ×2 attack. I shut off the A3 Hellish Blaze. Doesn't hit as hard as you'd think considering it's ignoring target's defense. Still, this is one of those champions that has a very high attack. Some people pull her and they're like, wow, game changer, nuker. And it's like, no, not nuker. turn meter support, her multipliers are not that strong. Still, that AoE times 2 can add up to a decent amount of damage throughout the duration of a match. All right, next up is going to be Nizana. Nizana's very good champion. Look at her HP, solid defense, pretty fast, HP based champion. On her A1, an AoE attack. Awkwardly, her damage is based on attack even though she's an HP based champion. Weird about that, but still an AoE on the A1, you love to see it. On the A2, an ally protect and a shield on herself. So a nice girthy shield based on 40% of her own HP, and again, her HP scales very well. On the A3, another AoE with decreased attack. So a 3-turn cooldown, decreased attack, 75% land rate. She's all about damage mitigation for your team. Decrease attack on the A3, and AoE on the A1 makes her a great stun set candidate. And then on the A2, again, ally protect, that's going to mitigate 50% of damage on all allies. Okay, so really, really good support champion, underrated in my opinion. Man, this is tough. This is tough here. I love Achak the Wenderin. I love this dude, but I think I'm going to give him an honorable mention. I don't know, man. He's so good. In AoE, no, I have to give it to him. In AoE freeze, whose attack is higher than their defense, instead of HP burn for defense who's higher than their attack, excuse me, if I can get that out, meaning he's going to freeze all of the spiderlings, you know, and then he has a block, or he.
You look hot with a mustache.
He block debuffs for 1 turn and a strengthen on all allies. The big version of strengthen on a 4-turn cooldown. That's one of the better strengthen abilities from all epics inside the game. And then we have a bunch of stuff going on the passive and on the A1. Namely, the passive has a heal or a turn meter fill, depending on every single enemy who's under HP burn or freeze. Also has defense in all battles by 25%. A very, very good champion overall. I'm going to give the next one. I was going to give it to Gorlos, but I chose Achak over Gorlos, but I love Gorlos as well. Honorable mention to Gorlos, man. He has a decreased defense on an AoE on his A2, and then on the A3, he has an HP burn and a decreased accuracy for 3 turns with a 20% turn meter fill. It is on a 4-turn cooldown, but very, very good ability, very good champion overall. I want to talk about Magnar, though. Guys, if you know me, you know I love my Magnar, dude. This guy is amazing. And it all comes down to this A2. Attacks all enemies with an extra hit on all enemies without HP burn. So your only job is to make sure they're not under HP burn unless you're going against like Spider, because in the arena, he's hitting incredibly hard. We're talking almost like Trunda-sized nukes from an HP-based champion. I love Magnar, one of my favorite champs in the game. Okay, last but not least, actually we have 2 more, right? Because I didn't really give it to Gorlos. It's going to be Padma, man. Padma is a very well, maybe she's properly rated. I don't know. But she has a attack 1 enemy 2 times. If the attack is critical, has a 100% chance of placing decreased attack on all enemies for 2 turns. It's the best decreased attack ability inside the entire game because we're landing it 100% of the time on a Void Affinity champion on all enemies on her A1. Can't land a weak hit as long as we have a 100% crit rate. That's going to be landing every time. We also have an AoE decreased accuracy on the A2, and then we have attack 1 enemy, removes all buffs from the target and places them on this champion. Also hits very, very hard on 3-turn cooldown for a defense-based champion. So Padma's very, very good. And then last going to be Umbral Enchantress. I mean, we have block buffs on a 3-turn cooldown on an AoE with a little bit of multipliers behind it. She can deal some serious damage, but she's known for this A3, an AoE attack again with 100% provoke for 2 turns. But the downside is she's blocking out all of her skills as well for 5 turns. But overall, a great in the arena, great basically everywhere that you want to totally neutralize the enemy team. All right, that is Demonspawn. Undead Horde. Okay. Big, massive honorable mention to Gorgorab. I really love this champion, but to me, he's just like a hair below the top 5 that I have. He has speed in arena battles. He also has a great revival of all allies. Seeker, is great for Batman unkillable comps, great for clan boss, great for the arena on a go second team, great for the arena on a go first team. This ability fills a turn meter of all allies by 30% with an increased attack, and then granting an extra turn is insane. His kit is simple, but it's very, very effective. You can boost in the arena with this ability, come back in with the A1, land to provoke, neutralize an enemy. And then he has this ability, which makes him great for clan boss or a go second team in the arena, where he's placing increased defense on all allies when he's hit with a critical hit. Very, very good champion. Next up is going to be, I love Dark Elhain. I love Husk though, man. The word is kind of out on Husk, but he has an enemy max HP ability with a stun on it as well. I mean, that's really, really good, right? 60% stun with a ton of damage. This guy is a boss, can deal a ton of damage against the Hydra clan boss as well. If you haven't tried him, give him a shot there, guys. Next is going to be Mausoleum Mage. This guy's incredible. Has a cleanse and a heal on the A3. Has an increased crit rate, increased defense, and block debuffs on the A2. Has a decreased speed on the A1. Still one of the best support champions in all of the epic categories. Fast 2 is Mausoleum Mage. I love that guy. Next up is going to be Vogoth. Vogoth is still just a very unique champion added last year, an AoE provoke. On the A1, he has a 3-time hitter and chance at increasing the random debuff on the target by 1 turn. And then he has this heal. Whenever this champion is attacked, heals all allies by 50% of the damage received. 25% against bosses, makes him very effective against clan boss, against any boss in the game, and even in the arena. When attacked, place a leech on the attacker for 2 turns as well. Very, very good champion. And then last but not least, we're actually going to go ahead and give it to Dark Elhain. I really love Dark Elhain, guys. She's a daily login reward champion. She has a decreased max HP on the A1, but on the A2, she has increased attack on herself, and then a very hard-hitting nuke with decreased speed at a 75% land rate on a 3-turn cooldown, and then fills his champion's turn meter by 25% and instantly activates that A2, that hard-hitting AoE attack, whenever she lands a freeze, whenever she receives a freeze or an ally. So basically, when the Ice Golem, when the Frost Spider, when anybody in the arena tournament is trying to land a freeze on you, she's instantly activating on a 1-turn cooldown that A2 ability. She's also instantly removing freezes and putting all these buffs on herself instead. I love Dark Elhain. She's great. Dark Elves, we have Caden. I'm going to give it to my man Caden, man. This dude also doesn't get enough love in the opinion of yours truly. On his A1, he has a provoke. A small chance at landing, but still 30% is not bad, right? On the A2, an AoE decrease attack, 100% chance decrease attack based on defense. Easy to keep this dude alive on a 3-turn cooldown. And then he has a very, very good revive. Favor of the Chamber is a 4-turn cooldown, revive 2 random allies, 50% HP, and 60% increased defense. So pretty easy to kind of get them back going, get them healed up, and get them back into the fight. I really like Caden because his kit is simple, but he's bringing the revival, he's bringing the damage mitigation, and he's easy to keep alive, as we already mentioned. Dark Kale is a boss. Has instant activation of poison and HP burn on his A1. On his A2, he has an AoE decrease attack. Each critical hit has a chance to increase the duration of all debuffs on the target by 1 turn. Very good ability on a 3-turn cooldown. And then he has 3 poisons and poison sensitivity on a 3-turn cooldown on the A3. It gets better. Increase the crit rate of enemies under 2 or more poisons by 15%. 15% crit rate, that's exactly how much the clan boss has. So we get to totally negate critical hits by the clan boss with that passive as well. Next up, Ryan the Conjurer, another Doom Tower secret room champion, on normal. She's very good as well. A little bit overshined by Madame Ceres, but check it out. She has a revival, decent revival here. Also synergizes with Akoth the Seared and Uros the Soul Cage, also secret room champions from Doom Tower. On her A2, we're removing 100% chance win booked all buffs from all enemies. Instead of placing the decreased attack and decreased defense like Madame Ceres, we're placing a weaken on all enemies. Very, very good. I use her in Hydra Clan Boss as well. She also has block buffs on the A1. Next up is going to be Sylar. Sylar, man. Very, very good control champion in this game. On the A1, an AoE attack. On the A2, another AoE attack with decreased accuracy. On the A3, Lead and Legs ability, we have decreased speed and decreased turn meter by 40% on all enemies. Very, very good champion. Sylar, I love this champion. Also, yeah, aesthetically looking pretty good too. Looking pretty good. Madame Ceres. Madame Ceres is, well, she's the queen. She is the queen. She really, really does have, and I've said this about, what, 2 or 3 champions? She's like a legendary. She really is a good legendary. If she was a legendary, we'd be calling her one of the better legendaries in the game. She has an AoE stealing, has a chance at stealing a bunch of buffs from every enemy, placing a block debuffs on all allies for 2 turns if any buff is stolen. True fear on enemies who have buffs stolen. She's removing all buffs from all enemies, placing decreased attack and placing decreased defense on a 4-turn cooldown as well. She's also putting a shield on herself. She does it all. She's amazing. Madame Ceres. Wow. By the way, oops, lot of honorable mentions here as well, guys. We have Lua is very good. Visionary is pretty good. We have Crimson Helm is pretty good. We have Spider is decent. Yeah, even Captain Tamilia isn't that bad. Tamila, my bad. All right, nice Revenant, guys. This one was the hardest for me out of any faction, believe it or not, because there's just so many good ones here, guys. I actually like Pharsalis. I like Senesha, Doom Priest, Sepulture, Miscreated Monster, Rector Drath, Ilesia, Skullcrown, and Golden Reaper. I love all of those champions, man. So here we go. We're going to do our best. Miscreated Monster has to be on the list. He's a boss. He was released the same 2019 Halloween, I believe, with Harvest Jack and Madame Ceres. Wow. Wow, he is so good. An AoE stun with one of the better shields in the game based on his damage dealt. He has an ally protect and a heal on himself. He also has a stun on the A1 along with decreased defense. And then he has a fear anytime an attacker attacks an ally while they're under his ally protect. Look at his base HP too. Good God. All right, next up, we're going to put Doom Priest. I can't... Forgive the double negative. I can't not put Doom Priest on my list because of this passive. Heals all allies with 7.5% of their max HP and removes a random debuff for them at the start of this champion's turn, man. She's so good against a variety of Doom Tower bosses. She's so good, exceptionally good against Hydra Clan boss as well. Man, I mean, every addition to the game that comes out, I feel like it's another opportunity for Doom Priest to even have more increased value, another opportunity for her to shine. A very, very simple but very effective champion in the game. I have to give it to Sepulture Sentinel as well. She has a defense in all battles. She has a chance at totally mitigating damage coming in every single turn to one ally, 50% chance. Really cool ability, right? And then we have increased defense, block debuffs on all allies for 2 turns on a 4-turn cooldown. She also has decreased attack on her A1. So really good for clan boss, but really good everywhere. And the reason I'm including her on the list is because I rely heavily on her as my main support on almost every dungeon on my free-to-play account. Very, very good champion. That's 3 already, good God. Rector Drath, I have to put her there. She's really, really good, guys. A decreased attack, on the A1. On the A2, a heal. And then after healing, a perfect veil on all allies. Perfect veil is so important for Hydra Clan boss. A continuous heal buff on one turn, on allies instead with less than 100% HP. On her A3, she has a revival as well with another perfect veil, 60% HP, 60% turn meter on a 4-turn cooldown. And then this passive, whenever an ally under a veil or perfect veil gets a turn, it's healing them by 10% of their max HP. It makes her one of the best healers in the game, especially in a curing set. That's right, curing, the artifact set that nobody talks about. I did a guide with her in a curing set. You guys want to go ahead and check it out. Very, very effective, very fast champion, 109 base speed. I am a big, big fan of Rector Drath. All right, last, so many snubs here, guys. I love Senesha. I think she's really, really good. But I'm going to give it to her sister, Skullcrown, her cousin, sister, right?
I'm her mother.
Skullcrown's just so good in a stun set for crowd control in PvE, and then in the arena for PvP with that nasty unkillable she has, and the increased speed aura. So I'm going to give it to Skullcrown. She can deal a lot of damage as well. I still think she's one of the better Void Epics inside the entire game, but a lot of honorable mentions here in Knights Revenant. Who would you guys give it to there? That was a real tough one. Dwarves is also tough. Grizzled Jarl definitely belongs on the list, man. He still doesn't get enough love, man. He really doesn't. Check it out. He has heal reduction on the A1. Hello? What an insane ability. Okay, it's not that good, but still, the rest of his kit is. On his A2, we get increased defense and block debuffs on a 3-turn cooldown, right? Increased defense for 2 turns, block debuffs for 1 turn. And then on the A3, we have an AoE 100% decrease attack. So we have decrease attack, increased defense, block debuffs. Not bad at all. Next up is going to be Rearguard Sergeant. She's really good, guys. She has decrease defense on her A1, 50% chance. On the A2, an AoE decrease attack with a heal on herself. And on the A3, we have Ally Protect and a continuous heal on all allies on a 3-turn cooldown. A very, very underrated and good support champion, even outside of just faction wars in the Dwarf faction. All right, that's 1, 2. Geomancer, of course. Geomancer's still a boss even after they kind of messed with his passive. He has a decreased accuracy on an AoE on his A1. On his A2, remove all buffs from an enemy then attacks them, steals buff instead if they're under HP burn, reduce the cooldown of the A3, the insane A3 in just a second. Let's take a look at his A3 actually. Fully depletes target's turn meter, right? Fills his champion's turn meter by the amount the target loses, and then places an HP burn and a weaken for 3 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. Decrease damage received by 15% when they have an HP burn, and reflecting that damage back from the passive can deal an exponential amount of damage in addition to everything he's already doing off of that passive. Very, very good ability. A good champion overall, excuse me. All right, next up, this is where things get a little bit difficult here. We have 1, 2, 3. I love Rockbreaker, but I'm actually going to give it to Melga Steelgirdle. I've never done a guide on Melga, but she's a very, very good champion. She's a reviver, which is much needed in the Dwarf faction. Revives 2 random allies, 20% HP, 20% turn meter, and a shield for 2 turns equal to 30% of their max HP. So not the best revival, but not the worst either. They have that shield to kind of keep them alive, right, as you start to heal them up. And then she has an AoE on the A2, a shield on all allies, 20% of this champion's max HP, which scales very well over 20k HP, also plays a continuous heal on them for 2 turns. And on the A1, we have a 50% chance, make it a 75 of removing a random debuff from a random ally on the A1. Not too bad, damage based on HP. Next up is going to be, and last, I'm going to give it to Demthea. Demitha. My bad, guys. I always say her name wrong, and you guys always give it to me in the comments. Now I said it right. She has a shield on her A1, which is really nice on the ally with lowest HP. On the A2, a million books, man. A million books on the A1. Ouch. Forgot about that. Increase the duration of all ally buffs by 1 turn. Decrease the duration of all ally debuffs by 1 turn. Very, very good ability on 3-turn cooldown with a heal as well. And then block damage and continuous heal for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. Very good unkillable champion. Very good support champion in general. And then defense on all battles by 20% as well. Very, very solid champion. And then Shadowkin, our last faction. We're going to come in under an hour in today's video. Yeah, buddy, we did it. Just barely, but we did it, guys. Taragi the Frog. The Frogman. Aesthetically, he's, kind of pleasing, right? He's pleasing. Very cool champion, guys. Has a decreased attack on his A1, has an AoE provoke on his A2, has a shield on his A3 with reflect damage and a heal. Very good A3 ability on a 3-turn cooldown. And ally protect, lest I mention that as well. Great for clan boss. Just a great support champion. Really almost 22k base HP. And then check this passive, guys. When attacked, has a 50% chance of placing a poison debuff on the attacker for 2 turns. Occurs once per hit. So because of that passive, can also deal a bunch of damage. Has a resist aura as well. Next up is going to be, Genbo. We'll go with the easy one. Genbo the Dishonored is one of my favorite nukers in the game. He's definitely my top 5 nuker because he deals a lot of damage on this ability, his Heartless Blitz A3, right? On his A3, excuse me, A2, A3, A2, 3, whatever. On his A3 ability, you're going to open with this. Increased crit rate, increased crit damage, grants an extra turn, comes into the A2, kills everybody, bye-bye, game over, right? And then he's immune to decreased attack and will ignore all those annoying freaking swift parry gear, unkillable procs, and all those annoying skull crowns in the arena as long as he's set up with an increased attack buff as well. So he's going to start out with, if you have him on the same team as like Arbiter, increased attack, increased crit rate, increased crit damage, and then boom, everybody's dead, including all those annoying champions with unkillable. I'm going to give the next one to Aboro. Aboro, very good for Hydra clan boss as well. She can steal some serious damage because she's putting a Veil and Perfect Veil on herself, right? So increased crit rate, increased crit damage, it then attacks an enemy. A Perfect Veil on a champion for 2 turns if the attack is critical. 3-turn cooldown, right? And then the passive, a Revive on Death on this champion for 3 turns whenever she receives a Veil or Perfect Veil. So really good Veil or Perfect Veil damage dealer in this game. 3-turn cooldown, attack 1 enemy 2 times. Attack 1 enemy with decreased defense on the A1. Will attack all enemies instead if the target is under 4 or more debuffs. So load up your debuffs. You're attacking all those Hydra Clan boss heads with that A1 ability. Very, very solid. All right, next up is going to be, we're going to give it to Hatatsu. Hatatsu is a defense-based decreased defense champion, decreased attack, excuse me, on the A2 on a 3-turn cooldown. And then we have the Leech on the A1. A lot of books again. Ouch, 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 ouch. On the A3, increased defense and a continuous heal on a 3-turn cooldown. Very, very good support champion. Again, the increased defense, the continuous heal, the decreased attack, and removes a random debuff from this champion at the start of every turn. Will remove the annoying CC debuffs first. So great for the arena support champion, just good all around everywhere for support for your team, good at keeping you alive. So I have Taragi, I have Hatatsu, I have Abaru, and Genbo. Who should I give the last spot to? I think we're going to actually give it to Burengiri. Burengiri is known as kind of a Bommel specialist, but there's more than meets the eye on this champion. On the A1, he has a Provoke, a decent land rate at 40% chance. On the A2, an AoE stun, so he has double CC in his kit. Provoke on the A1, a 60% stun on a 3-turn cooldown, damage based on defense, with solid multipliers as well on the A2. On the A3, he's putting a strength in the big version on all allies for 2 turns on a 4-turn cooldown. Also places a shield buff for 2 turns on all allies with less than 50% HP, the shield equal to 15% of his max HP. And then his passive heals his champion by 50% of their max HP whenever an ally or an enemy dies. So a pretty cool passive to keep him alive as well. And there we go, guys. That concludes our list of the top 5 epic champions to upgrade here in 2022 in every single faction. Which champion did I snub? Let me know in the comments below. Which champion do you want to see a guide on? Let me know if you want to see a guide on any of these champions. I'd be happy to acquiesce. Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching all the way till the end. And as always, take care, guys.